Once upon a time, I did a Dark Knight build using Paladin and Cleric. It's a fun build that does cool stuff, but now that we have access to some really juicy new subclasses, I wanted to reimagine that build. In this video, we'll discover the sheer destruction of charisma-based attacks using Hexblade, Paladin, and Shadow Sorcerer for a summoning, smiting, casting destroyer of worlds. I wanted to bring the Final Fantasy Dark Knight vibe into the mix here, but I think the direction we will take gives you a great class that can do a lot of everything. In my typical fashion of upfronting the knowledge in my videos though, let's go through the levels of this build. We'll start with one level of Vengeance Paladin to give us heavy armor, then one level of Hexblade, which turns on charisma based attacks as well as the damage bonuses. We'll pivot back to Paladin for 5 more levels for our extra attack, and then finish off with 6 levels of Sorcerer. This will give us spell slots for smites, the Hound of Ill Omen, charisma-based attacks, and paladin auras to make you a seething, destructive powerhouse. But if that's all you wanted to know, please feel free to shut the video down. As always, I want to be respectful of your time. You can find a link to this entire build on EIP in the description and the pinned comment as well. Before you head out, if you find the information in this video helpful, please don't forget to like, comment, or subscribe, as each one of those things helps me out in a huge way. Also, take a look at my Twitch, linked in the comment and description, where I'll be streaming my new pure evil run using this build and more that I'll be uploading. Let's get started on the ultimate updated Dark Knight build in Baldur's Gate 3. Jumping into character creation, this is a single player narrative game, so have fun with whatever you want to choose for the race for this class. I'm just going to go through some ones that have some really nice standout abilities, but choose the one that you want to look at for the next like 40 to 190 hours of gameplay for this build. Some standout ones are the way that the High Elves work now is that they get their cantrips. That is something that they've always gotten access to. But if for any reason you don't want to start off with going into Warlock as the next level, which would give you this cantrip, you can go with a high half elf or a high elf and get Booming Blade, which is just a really, really good ability that we're going to be using quite a bit in this build. It's just nice that you can get access to it through the start of the game if you don't want to choose Warlock at level 2. Remember, that will give you Booming Blade. Otherwise, some other good ones here are Drow, because why would you not want to be a Drow? It's the best race in the entire game. The Gith, which is another really good one because, of course, of astral knowledge, gain proficiency in all skills of a chosen ability, plus all of the unique narrative options for Gith, plus all of the unique armor and weapons for Gith. They really make for standout great characters. If you've never played one, I strongly recommend them just at least once in a playthrough. It's very rewarding. Another good option here, though, is the Tieflings. Both the Asmodeus and the Mephistopheles Tieflings, they get bound, not cantrips, they get spells that are bound to their race at level 1, 3, and 5. The Asmodeus Tieflings get Asmodeus Tieflings get Produce Flame, Hellish Rebuke, and Darkness, and then the Mephistopheles Tieflings will get Mage Hand, Burning Hands, and Flame Blade. All 6 of which are really fun, good spells that you can take advantage of, and the casting modifier for them is Charisma, so you'll be able to take advantage of it. Now, the Zariel Tieflings does get spells. They get Searing Smite and Branding Smite. You'll get that as a Paladin, so it's not that crazy. Cool thing is, though, it does use your Constitution, which we will have lots of, so there's that to consider. One of the last 2 standout races here, of course, is going to be Dragonborn, because they're really cool and flavorful. I just like to encourage them as much as I can, because that breath attack is really cool, and you also get a resistance to whatever element the breath attack is. So black dragons, for example, do acid breath and have resistance to acid. Lastly, we have the Half-Orc, which is just so good for melee characters because of savage attacks. When you land a critical hit with the melee weapon attack, you deal an extra dice of weapon damage, which is different than Savage Attacker, which is going to have a whole different way to do things, because this is for critical hits. Savage Attacker is not. And also get Relentless Endurance here. So if you reach 0 hit points, you regain 1 hit point instead of becoming downed. Now, we will get access to a feature like this with our Sorcerer, but we don't get that to level 7. So it's nice to have in the meantime, especially if it's your first honor mode run and you're worried about that. Our class is, of course, going to be Paladin, And in that, we'll get Lay on Hands, which is cool. But Oath of Vengeance is going to be the one that I'm selecting for this build. You can use any of the 4 subclasses or even the Oathbreaker, but I'm building things around the way that you can use Vow of Enmity to get to get advantage on everything. It's really good. But the Oath of the Ancients is really good because of their heal. Healing Radiance will do 5 hit points, then regain another 5 hit points next turn. And that hit point amount is going to scale. So it's not going to always be that. It's probably one of my favorite oaths. Oath of the Crown is the new one. Oh, I have not actually seen this. This tabard is sick. What's worth noting about Oath of the Crown, though, just as a heads up, it is very hard to maintain the oath because you have to like kind of sit in between a good option and a bad option. It's really difficult. So I want to be transparent about that if you want to go with it. But into the Oath of Vengeance here. For our background, please choose what makes sense for you. Are you the acolyte of a paladin order that has fallen into these warlock and sorceress ways? Remember, sorcerers are people that have innate ability to cast spells versus wizards are people who have gone and studied how to cast spells. So it's part of their bloodline as a sorcerer. So maybe you are some like soldier or sage that has been corrupted over time and awoken some sort of diabolical shadow magic within your bloodline that is part of a lineage. And that's the background you go with. Remember, your background determines the inspirations you get, and those inspirations allow you to re-roll hard to roll situations. If you want to min-max it, my min-max option is always Guild Artisan for insight and persuasion, because both of those skills are very useful. And as far as our skills go too, here, this will do. I always recommend trying to go with one conversation skill because we will be a charisma heavy character. This is, I'm assuming, going to be your face character. Face character meaning it is the character you're playing with. This can also be any one of your followers if you see fit, if you so wish. In which case, choose something else. Athletics, though, is not a bad option for pushing things. That just helps you to maybe get some distance and you're like, I don't have anything to do with my bonus action, shove. Religion is thematic, but don't worry about it when it comes to the actual gameplay mechanics. Nothing's going to bar you if you don't have religion skill. And medicine, you're probably better off doing a dedicated transmutation wizard for medicine rather than putting it on this character. But your skills, definitely try to get 1, if not 2 conversational options. Deception, intimidation, and persuasion are your conversational skills, which will key off of your charisma. For our ability points, I'm going to focus on, of course, charisma. Every class that we're even just dipping into uses our charisma, and we're going to put the +2 points into it for 17. If I can get access to the Hag's Hair through whatever means, that's going to give me 18 charisma. And then if I use ability improvement score, hint we're going to, it's going to put us up to 20 charisma, giving us a max of +5 for our charisma checks. Outside of that, though, we want constitution. So we're going to bring that to 15 and put the +1 there. My goal for this build, at least, is to use heavy armor. So dexterity, we're not going to be able to pull the AC bonus from dexterity, but we will be able to pull the initiative bonus from dexterity. So I want that at 14. You can put it to 15 and try to buff it from stuff like that, but what I'm going to do with these final 2 points is put them into strength. The only reason they're going into strength is because having 8 strength is a hamstring on the character you're playing the most when you're wearing heavy armor. It just is going to be really annoying for you. If you want to min-max it, that's probably the min-max to make it easier to resist like charm spells. But having 10 strength on you, you're going to be wearing heavy armor. You are also going to be sucking up all the loot on your main character. So it's just nice to be able to offset that with just 2 more points of strength here to give you that little bit of breathing room when it comes to your carry capacity. I know that seems like a minor thing to build into for an ability point, but it's a huge quality of life improvement when it comes to just overall gameplay. The amount of time that you're going to spend just looting random crap off the ground and selling it, it is going to be an actual benefit for you. And again, heavy armor is very, heavy. So those are our ability points: 17 charisma, 16 constitution, 14 dexterity, and 10 strength. For the leveling portion of this build, let's take a look at what this looks like from level to level throughout our acts. Now, we've just gotten off the Nautiloid ship, so we probably have level 2, or we're like, very, very close to getting level 2. And we're going to, for that second level, go from Paladin into Warlock. Cantrips, we're going to choose Booming Blade. Now you can choose whatever you want. We're not going to be able to take Eldritch Blast and add our charisma modifier to it because we're not putting 2 points into it. You could conversely do 2 levels of Warlock, 4 levels of Paladin if you so wish, but you lose out on extra attack. So that's why we haven't gone with that. So this level one can really be whatever you want. It can be a range spell for Toll the Dead or Bone Chill. I'm just gonna go with Eldritch Blast because it's kind of cool, right? And it looks, if you've played a DK in Final Fantasy 16 like I did, then you know that the look of the Eldritch Blast matches their all the particle effects of their abilities. And our subclass is going to be the Hexblade. Importantly, going to be the Hexblade. I guess too, on that note, you could go with, oh no, it's cantrips, never mind, as Hexblade. So we do also get spells here, right? Remember the big things we want: Bind Hex Weapon. This is going to give us the Hexblade's Curse, but then we get Hex Warrior with that Bind Hex Weapon. And with this, you can only have one packed. It doesn't show on here. It shows on the actual tooltip, but you will become proficient with it if you weren't already. It will now use our Charisma modifier to attack. It will add damage to our attacks. And lastly, it will make it so we critical hit with 1 less point. So rather than rolling a 20 to critical hit, we can roll a 19. So very, very easy to get crits. For our spells, go with whatever you want. I like Hex because it's useful the entirety of the game, and it's a bonus action to do. It does require a concentration, so there is that to consider. Shield is nice because it's just a free 5 armor class in a dire situation. You're probably not going to use it otherwise. What you're probably going to use these Warlock spell slots for, realistically, is spell slots for low value smites. What I mean by that is, remember, Warlock spell slots replenish on short rest. So you can take these spell slots and just use them to, hey, I just need a low value smite to get something over the edge to die. I'll use this Warlock spell slot because it will replenish on a short rest. That's really what I mean here. So I'm just going to choose something like Armor of Hadar because Armor of Agathis or Agathis, whichever one it is. I really like this. It's 5 temp hit points, 5 cold damage. It's great at the very beginning of the game. You can respec away from it later if you so wish. Shield is awesome. If you're a tiefling, you already get Hellish Rebuke, right? Arms of Hadar is cool too for just a quick AoE necrotic damage. But what's nice about this is it will shut down targets' use of reactions, and reactions are opportunity attacks. So I'm going to go with those two. Kind of feels thematic too for the overall look of the build. So we accept that. We jump into level 3. We're still in Act 1, so we're going back here into Paladin. Now, for your fighting style, use whatever you want. You can use a sword and a shield if you want to be more of a tank character in the party. But I'm going to go great weapon fighting because I really want to amp up 2-handed weapon damage. It's going to be a lot of fun for me. So that's what I'm going to stick with. So we're going to accept that, and we're going to go on. We do have spells. I forgot to go into those. We'll go into them right now. And now we get into level 3. So here's when we get Abjure Enemy. Frighten an enemy. They'll have disadvantage on ability checks and attack rolls, and they cannot move for 3 turns. Vow of Enmity, though, is the big one. We cast this on ourselves, and then we gain advantage on all attack rolls against everyone. It's not how it's probably intended to be used, but that's how everyone uses it, and it's really good. For our spells, though, for the character, really just, you're using your spell slots, by and large, for your capability to do smites. So anything you choose here is totally down to the dealer. Whatever you want, whatever looks cool to you. I put the smites on here. I never use them because they use an action and a bonus action, and they require concentration. So I just think they're kind of fun to have because I'm a paladin. But even having something like heroism's really fun and nice in the early portions of the game. You can only have 10 hit points from one source, so you can't stack this with Armor of Agathis. Just keep that in mind. Shield of Faith is fun, increases armor class, just again requires concentration, protection from good and evil, blessed. They're all there. Just choose again whatever makes sense for you and your build and your party. As we go into level 4, we get new spell, another little spell slot. We're good to go, but we now can choose our feat, and we also get a lay on hands charge. So let's now talk about our feat options for this build. So there's plenty of ways you can approach feat for all characters, but what we're going to do is ability improvement charisma to start us off. That's the first one we're going to go into, and then after that I'm going to go with Great Weapon Master. Great Weapon Master allows us that when we land a critical hit or kill a target with a melee attack, we can use a bonus action to do another weapon attack. Also, we do 10 more damage if we so wish. The reason I choose Great Weapon Master second here is, yeah, sure, I'm waiting a long time to turn on the damage for this, but the biggest boon to Great Weapon Master is the critical hit and killing and bonus action portion. You can basically weaponize your bonus action. But I find I never get the full value of Great Weapon Master until later in the game when I have high enough stats to make it so that I can hit reliably. So Great Weapon Master is second because remember, everything's going to be going off of our charisma. So this allows us to actually hit more frequently with our great weapon with higher charisma. But some other good standout ones are, of course, Alert. Everyone is a big fan of this one. I don't think you need it so much in this build, but it is there if you so wish. Lucky is always a good standout one. We are using heavy armor. Heavy armor master is always fun because it increases your strength by 1, but which you don't need. It's just purely for carrying capacity, right? But incoming damage from non-magical attacks also decreases by 3 while you're wearing heavy armor. So if you want some cool damage mitigation, this is there. Mobile's fun if you want to really kind of move around. We are still a spellcaster, so getting access to Spell Sniper is really good for trying to critical hit with spells. Warcaster is going to be fun if we want to get up close and personal. Now, the other one you probably would choose if you didn't go with Great Weapon Master would be Savage Attacker. So when making melee weapon attacks, you roll your damage dice twice and use the highest result. I think Great Weapon Master is probably the better call, but Savage Attacker is another big standout one. So we're going to go with ability improvement, put it into charisma, and go ahead and move forward. So moving into level 5 for Paladin, our character level is level 6. We now get access to extra attack. We've turned on way more functionality for the build. We can jump into more spells here, but again, I'm not really too concerned. You do get access to now Hold Person and Misty Step. You'll use Misty Step more than Hold Person likely in this build. And you're now cresting the point where you're just about ready to get into Act 2. So your damage potential is going to spike because now you have extra attack. It's going to be a lot more damage on the table in conjunction with Booming Blade. You're really going to feel this build come alive at this point. So we'll accept this for one more level into level 6. I'm sorry, we don't want to. Yeah, okay, no, perfect. I was like, no, I don't want to go to level 6. That's where we stop going in with Paladin, right? We now pivot into Sorcerer. Yes, if you really wanted to, you could go that extra level into Paladin and get access to your Aura of Protection. But no, we want those summons. I want to really jump into that feeling for this character. And we choose Shadow Magic. That's going to give us our Strength of the Grave, which fits the overall feel of this Dark Knight that I have in mind. So 0 hit points, you become, if you get to 0 hit points, rather than becoming down, you come back to life. Cantrips here, you can choose a plenty. You can go with Blade Ward if you so wish. It's not going to be amazing. Shocking Grasp is going to be fun. Bursting Sinew is just thematic, so we're going with it. And I like Ray of Frost as well. Into some spells. So you can choose, you know, I love Magic Missile. It's just always going to be really good for me. It fits this feeling for the character of doing massive force damage, but it's just such a good spell. It's hard to want to skip out on. Now, another one I actually like too for this build is Thunderwave. If you didn't get Shield earlier, you can get Shield, but Thunderwave's cool because you're going to be up close and personal. So, and also if they resist it, if they save it, then they still take half damage. So we're going to go with that and keep pushing down the build. We're starting to get into level 8, so we'll be at that midpoint of Act 2, which is just fine and dandy. Again, let's go with, you know, I'll just pick up Shield. And for meta magic, distant spell is nice here because we're going to be in close combat. Increase the range of spells. So if you're in close combat, you want to use any of your close combat spells like Shock and Grasp or anything like that, you can now use them at the melee spells get a range of 30 feet. So you can get a good range on that. Then Twin Spell is another really good one. So this allows you to, spells that only target one creature can target an additional creature. So this allows you to do it for cantrips, anything like that. I think it just works really well together. We're going to push forward here. Until level 3, we have all of our fun level 2 spells. And really the biggest one here that stands out to me is going to be Mirror Image. Because we're a melee class character, we're up close and personal. We'll be able to have fun with that. We'll be able to really do some cool things with it. And on top of it, it doesn't require concentration. So there is that to take advantage of. I really like that choice here. So I'm going to click it. And then meta, another good one though is enlarge. This helps you do damage when you're in melee as well. Blur is cool, but it does require concentration, so there is that to consider. Phantasmal Force and Dark Vision, or I'm sorry, I thought that was darkness. Sorry, ignore the dark vision part. Phantasmal Force does kind of fit the character because this will match the damage type you want to do. And we have Shadowblade, but hold off. We have one more meta magic, so that is now going to go into, where is it? Quicken a spell. Spells that cost an action cost a bonus action instead. And we're going to replace a spell and get rid of, if it's shield or thunder wave, whatever it is, whatever you want to do, and put in Shadowblade. Shadowblade might not be the big focus. You're going to see once we get to the gear section. We'll talk about that in a bit, but we want to put it on the character for sure. Then we'll push forward because while you're leveling, it's going to be really, really, really good. So that's a big point of it. We'll talk about that again in the gear section. As we jump into level 4, we get another cantrip, go with whatever fits, and another spell, go again with whatever fits. Feat selection here, and you're at a point now where you're coming into Act 3. You're about to probably finish up Act 2, or at least getting ready to crest into it. Act 3 starts anywhere from level 10 to 11. We're going to go into Great Weapon Master at this point and take that, pushing into our final level. Oh, and I'm sorry, our second to last level. We're going to get more spells. So you have some options. It's going to depend upon what your party makeup looks like. While Counterspell is very good and having multiple instances is very good, a big source of your damage is your spell slots. So you don't really want to be in situations where you're just throwing your spell slots to the wind for Counterspell. Use that on maybe a more dedicated caster character to use the Counterspell on them, or a bard, another sorcerer, a wizard, whatever it is. But Counterspell is, again, very good. I want to really make sure that distinction is made. Blink is really cool for just the mobility it affords you. Flight is going to be awesome. Again, a concentration spell. Haste is good, but again, it is a concentration spell, so losing it is going to be kind of punishing. Fear, it's a concentration spell, but it fits thematically, which is awesome. I'm just going to pop Counterspell in here because I talked about it. And then into level 6, we get the most important portion of level 6, which is Hound of Ill Omen. These things will charge us up with sorcery points every time they do damage to a certain set elemental damage type, which we'll talk about in a second here. And then for our last spell, I really like Fireball because Fireball does half damage even if they resist it. Something that Lightning Bolt does as well. So you can really kind of go with whichever one you really like. But it's cool to kind of have a ranged damage spell to do big damage numbers. But again, you're going to probably use those spell slots for your smites. So just keep that in mind. These are just kind of fun, like if you get a chance type of thing, go ahead and do it. So that is the entire leveling build for this. Let's now go into itemization and gear. Before we jump into all the items I do have, let me go into the single item I don't have, and one you absolutely need to get in Act 1 in the Crash. It is the Ring of Arcane Synergy. When you deal damage with a cantrip, which, remember, Booming Blade is, you gain Arcane Synergy for 2 turns. There's a difference between Arcane Acuity and Arcane Synergy. Arcane Acuity, which these gloves give you, helps you with your spell casting, +1 to spell save DC per turn. Arcane Synergy does not rely on anything when it comes to the per turn basis. It's a flat bonus to your weapon based off of your spellcasting modifier. So if your spellcasting modifier is Charisma, which it's going to be for all of our 3 classes, then that adds that +4, that +5 to our weapon. That is huge. So Arcane Synergy is absolutely crucial. Conversely, if you want, you could get the Diadem here of Arcane Synergy, which is the same thing, but you have to inflict a condition. Don't worry, Booming Blade inflicts a condition. But those are the only 2 items I don't have that I strongly recommend for this build. So let's start off by talking about the best weapon for this build. So you're definitely gonna, yeah, that's right, I changed the Cerevox helmet because it's way more of the Cecil look from Final Fantasy IV. But you're going to want to go with any 2-handed weapon you find throughout the entirety of your playthrough. Even the Falar Aluve, which you find in Act 1, is great. Finesse weapons don't mean that they always use your dexterity, and it doesn't matter. When we put it into a hexed weapon, it just becomes the type of, it becomes charisma no matter what. So it doesn't matter what weapon we use. It just becomes a charisma weapon. Now, I'm showing you 2-handed weapons. If you want to use this as a 1-handed build, you definitely can. And that's why we have Shadowblade. So I'm using Great Weapon Mastery. I'm focusing on using the weapon style of Great Weapons. And I'm going to ultimately say that the best one for this build is going to be Baldur on Giant Slayer because it's just so damn good. I really like this Sword of Chaos because it looks really cool, but the Baldur on Giant Slayer is probably just the better weapon. Like pound for pound, maybe this one's it. So our weapon choice, though, if we are going to go with a one-handed weapon, is going to be, where is it? Shadowblade. So remember, we're our Hexblade, right? So we can take this. This is a 6 to 24. Let's go ahead and bind that Hex weapon. Now that says 10 to 28. So this is what it's going to look like for you if you bind it and this is the weapon you want to use. Let's just use the Sword of Chaos as an example. But let's say you want to go with a one-handed weapon instead. The Shadowblade gives you a short sword to use. So let's go ahead and use this at level 4. And before we even look at it, let's bind it. So remember, our two-handed weapon was 10 to 28. This is 8 to 34. It's showing us because of the +1 the D6 fire damage because of the weapons. I'm sorry, the gloves I have on. Let's look at that. See, now it's 728, and the other one will scale accordingly, right? Like remove 1 D6 because I had those stupid gloves on. So it's not as good as the two-handed weapon, but it's still pretty damn good. And you just have this. As soon as you get access to Shadowblade with Sorcerer, you're just going to use this for your one-handed weapon, and then you're going to put a shield on. So you're good to go if you want to go with a one-handed weapon. I just wanted to show you the difference between those two. So now that we've talked about all the weapon choices, which is pretty much any two-handed weapon you're going to find, you can use the burning one that you get right off the Nautiloid ship into like Jorgal's Greatsword, all the really good two-handed weapons you're going to find throughout the game. Let's talk about our gear choices now. So there's a lot to go through. There's a lot of options for this build. And when it comes to the helmet, I think the easy pick for a lot of people is going to be the Helmet of Arcane Acuity. And I just want to focus on this. Arcane Acuity is the spell attack roll and spell difficulty class for each remaining turn. We want to focus more on that weapon damage, hence the arcane synergy. Remember, if we're using our smites here, they do attack rolls. So we don't necessarily care about that spell save DC. This is just going to do its damage, right? We're not going to worry about this. So amping up spell save DC from the Helmet of Arcane Acuity is great. It's just know that you're not going to make your divine smites any better. That's going to be arcane synergy. The Helmet of Arcane Acuity is going to help us with all of the many spells we can cast. So I want to make sure you know that distinction before going into it. And the reason I don't focus on the Helmet of Arcane Acuity is because we have access to a lot of other really good helmets that are going to fit the build's focus better. The Saravox helmet being one of them, because the number you need to roll a critical hit while attacking is reduced by 1. Add that in now with what we have for our Hexblade. No, where is it? Hexblade. So there we go. So Hexblade Curse, when the number you need to roll a critical hit while attacking the target is reduced by 1. So when we put that curse on something, we're going to do more damage. And remember, having our blade hexed has a chance to afflict that curse. Otherwise, we just do it manually. So we have way better chances to get critical hits with this helmet. I really like it. You can't be frightened. You get dark vision. Can't be afflicted by other emotion altering conditions. I think it's a really good one for the build. Other good ones though are Helm of Baldur for some great sustain. Really good. You can't land crits. You get free +1 armor and saving throws. You can't be stunned. You heal 2 hit points. The Helldusk helmet, also really awesome for a lot of the same reasons. But leveling up in the very early portions of the game, use Helmet of Smiting. When you apply a condition with one of your smite spells, you gain 10 hit points equal to your charisma modifier. It's free 10 hit points. It's the best early paladin helmet. Then in Act 2, jump into the flawed Helldusk helmet until maybe you get the Helmet of Arcane Acuity. And use this for a bit until you jump into Act 3 to get a lot of the better helmets. For your chest piece, I'm using Reaper's Embrace because it just looks really cool. Like that has got one of the best looking paint jobs. But all incoming damage is reduced by 2, and AC 19 is really good. And Howl of the Dead is actually awesome. Let out a bone chilling howl that numbs all nearby creatures, and numbs is pretty nifty. Movement speed half. The spellcaster has advantage on attack rolls against the affected entity. So you can use basically your Vow of Enmity through Howl of the Dead instead, and gives you a little bit of longevity. You'll get this at the end of Act 2, and you'll use it for all the time until you get probably the best heavy piece of armor in the game, the Armor of Persistence here. It just looks really cool too. All incoming damage is reduced by 2. You gain resistance and blade ward. It's just so damn awesome. Look at that AC, a good old girthy 21 AC from that. You put on the Helm of Baldur on it, jumps up to 22. But other really good other good chest pieces you can use are Flawed Helldusk armor in Act 2. I think it's at the very beginning of Act 3 you can actually buy the Dwarven Splint Mail. I think you buy it at the Moonrise Towers. But you take 1 less piercing damage, you gain a +1 bonus to strength saving throws and checks, and you get +2 constitution for this thing. It's a really good, also looks awesome. It's a really good piece of armor that you can use for a good amount of time until you can afford the Armor of Persistence, or you find Helldusk armor as well. This is another good option if you'd like to go down this route. Personally, I think the Reaper's Embrace or Armor of Persistence are the 2 best ones for this build, either thematically and or functionally. I like all the function of Reaper's Embrace, not just the theme of it. So consider both of those things. Into our glove option, I'm wearing the Helldusk gloves. This, if you want to, what's nice about the Helldusk gloves is that it guarantees me fire damage. Your weapon attacks deal an additional fire damage. So I can hit something and use fire as the element for my omen, for my little Hound of Ill Omen. So this guarantees me a form of damage. Thunder, I do not believe is on the list for the Hound of Ill Omen. We'll take a look at it in just a second here. I don't think you can even take a look at this. Yeah, I can't look it through here. But again, this is just another guaranteed elemental to help me with triggering the Hound of Ill Omen sorcery regenerating effect. So this is a good one to use. But you can also use Battle Mage's Power. What I would really say is, between the Helmet of Arcane Acuity and the Battle Mage's Power, use one or the other. And then you can get Arcane Acuity, and you'll have that ring that gives you Arcane Synergy. So you'll have both stacking up as you do damage through everything. That's probably my best recommendation. Legacy of Masters is good for just 2 flat damage. In Act 2, the Flawed Helldusk gloves are good because they're all the same benefits of this, just they're watered down. Luminous gloves are really great because remember, you deal radiant damage, right? So you're going to might as well take advantage of this. You'll find these early in the game in Act 1. So the target receives 2 turns of radiating orb. Also Gloves of Heroism in Act 1. When you use your Channel Oath spell, you gain heroism. So just kind of goes hand in hand here with the Helmet of Smiting. You'd use these very early in the game as you get them. Into our boot option, we have the Boots of Persistence. They're just so damn good. You gain freedom of movement and long strider. They're great. They're expensive though. These are bought from the same character as the Armor of Persistence. So you need to keep Damon alive into Act 3 in order to buy both of them. The Blackguard or Blackguard's Greaves do give you long strider, so you get all the benefits of the persistence just without the freedom of movement. So these are pretty close to them. A little bit different of a look too, kind of more ratty looking or more beat up. Cool, they're the like Oathbreaker looking boots. Boots of Striding are cool for concentration, for momentum, and not being able to knock prone. The Disintegrating Night Stalkers are always a nice one. The Boots of Speed for some mobility. As far as our amulets go, I'm using the Amulet of Greater Health for more constitution. So this gives me 135 total hit points, which is just such a juicy thing. But if you don't want to use this on this character, you want to use it on someone that needs that advantage on constitution saving throws, or maybe just the constitution as a whole, you've got plenty of others to take advantage of. Don't know why I've got that there. The Moondrop penned in here for opportunity attacks. Amulet of Harper for shields. Spellcrux Amulet is good for spell slot restoration. Just remember, now with patch 8 they've patched this, so you have to have this on your character to keep that spell slot on. So if you so for example here, that level 4 spell slot we used, if I want that to stay active, I have to keep the spell slot I have to keep this on. If I want to replenish it, it needs to stay on my character. Once I've used the spell slot, I can take it off. But Amulet of Misty Step here is good for just access to Misty Step. For our rings, we talked about the Ring of Arcane Synergy. You're definitely going to want to use that. But Killer's Sweetheart gives us access to a critical hit, or just guaranteed crits. And the Crypt Lord Ring is cool for summoning up an undead, just getting a cool mummy to follow you, as well as the Dance Macabre from the Necromancy of Thay book. Those two work really well in conjunction. But Coruscation Ring for anytime you deal radiant damage, or when the wearer deals spell damage while illuminated by a light, they inflict radiant orb if you want to go with that early in the game. Ring of free action for moving over difficult terrain, movement speed bonus from Crusher's Ring, and Ring of Regeneration for free heals. Lastly, for our cloak, we have just a good old cloak of protection, man. It's good old faithful here. One more AC, one more saving throw bonus. You can go with Cloak of the Weave to help with spell save DC and attack rolls and help you absorb elemental spells, which is really cool, again, thematically. Thunderskin Cloak for helping against reverb, which you will deal with, right? You'll deal tons of reverb because of Booming Blade. And Flesh Melter Cloak is good early because it gets a reactive acid damage return. So those are all of your items in this build. Let's now jump into some close combat. Jumping into combat here, let's take a look at all of what we can do. And there is plenty. So I've already quaffed a potion of speed to give me an extra action for display on this video. I've used Blur to get up some clones to help me out with 31 glorious armor class, which is great. We've summoned up our Hound of Ill Omen, which costs 3 sorcery points. Now that he's up though, let's take a look at him very quickly. So the Hound of Ill Omen has that omen we talked about. So a dark omen that can be of acid, cold, fire, lightning, poison, or thunder. Okay, so thunder was on here. When damage of that type is dealt to the affected entity, the owner of the hound regains 1 sorcery point. So this is a sorcery point battery, and it can also entangle things. And it has Gloom Step. Movement is increased by 10 feet when starting in darkness. It also, if something hits it, I don't think it shows it on here anywhere. No, it doesn't. If something hits it, it can split off into 2. So lots of fun stuff comes from that little guy that's summoned up. I did not summon the Dance Macabre to give me 4 ghouls. I did not summon Create Dead to give me like a what the hell is it called? Like a mummy or anything like that. But we're going to have tons of fun with all the things that we can do now. So we have all these guys here. Remember, we're a Shadow Sorcerer. And as thus, Shadow Sorcerer has Eyes of the Dark. You can see in the dark up to 80 feet. So we could use for 2 sorcery hit points, Eyes of the Dark Darkness, create a cloud of dark. A shroud that heavily obscures and blinds creatures within. Creatures cannot make range attacks. Casters can be normal. The caster can see normally in darkness, both magical and non-magical, to a distance of 83 feet. The caster, that's me. So I can take advantage of this situation and go flip. That's going to cost one of my actions, so there is that to consider. So everything's blinded now. Now, Hexblade's Curse is something you'd probably want to see that you could just get active on the character through just doing damage. But for the constraints of this video, let's try to force this interaction. So I'm going to go ahead and use Hexblade's Curse on this guy right here. So they're cursed. We're going to move into darkness. And I am going to use Booming Blade on this target right here. Advantage as well, so it's great, right? I do have all inactive. I do. Just let me make sure. Okay. Common. What a great video I've got here. Okay, it's active. I was making sure. You can put it into your toggleables, and I in the heat of the moment right now, I've messed everything up. So, clicking. That felt real good. So we did 25 thunder damage, 35 slashing damage. We got arcane acuity from that. But let's go ahead and follow through. Oh, he's already dead, so we don't need to follow through anymore. Unfortunately, we can't summon specters. So that is just a symptom of us not being all the way leveled up in Sorcerer. I'm sorry, in Hexblade. Let's just go spread the damage over here now. Now, notice something. You cannot use Booming Blade and Divine Smite. They've quote unquote nerfed that, probably just more brought it in line of what it should be. So I wanted to separate those two so you could see them. We can now jack up that Divine Smite right there. So we did 25 plus an additional 21. So we have lots of tools at our disposal. And if I had not used a bonus action, I could have used Quicken Spell to then now cast a spell. I mean, I can click, it doesn't do anything, right? We have lots of things that you can do with this build. A lot of things that you can cover and go into and have a lot of fun with. We could blow up corpses with bursting sinew. There's something for everything, and I don't feel weak about it. You know, there's something to be said about, you know, going a lot of different directions in a build can sometimes result in a character that is very weak across a lot of those different sections. But I don't feel weak at all. I do a lot of really good damage. I can use that damage back into my hound, right? Because I did thunder damage in that instance. So if something is afflicted with the omen, that thunder damage could have fed back sorcery points into my character. So, and that's something to note too, the Hound of Omen, when you do use it before you use other characters that are going to do the element that you're going to affix. And it doesn't always need to be thunder. It can be whatever, like, hey, you know what? I'm going to use the Nimbus first, and then I'm going to use Will and Will here. It's going to be her instead. She's going to use chain lightning. So now I'm going to actually do the Nimbus is going to use lightning instead. So you can key those things up to give you the advantages you need to get the damage you want out of the character. And I think you're really going to like this one because it fits in a really fun tanky spot with good heavy armor, big damage numbers, and tons of functionality across summons and lots of really cool crunchy gameplay. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching here today. If there's ways that you would change this, go ahead and let me know in the comment section below. But as always, have a good one and take care.